They tell me that I'm never gonna make it. They want me to do something that could make sense. They hate when I keep dreaming I'll be famous, but I don't give a fuck, I'ma keep chasing. I got all this potential that's deep inside of me.
Hi guys, welcome to Taking My Power Back with Sharvon Renee. I am Sharvon Renee and I'm so happy that you guys clicked on this video. Welcome to the very first episode of my podcast. Yay! Before we get into this podcast, I want to do a quick disclaimer that I feel I'm going to do every episode before I start getting into the nitty-gritty of things. I have my little cheat sheet that I wrote down as a disclaimer that I want to say before I go ahead and get into this podcast. And so basically it's saying that this podcast was made because over a decade I have been carrying so much trauma that has literally physically and emotionally paralyzed me, okay? I am now taking the steps into taking my power back by working on myself and learning to forgive myself first and others, you know, and giving them grace and giving myself grace, right? And I've been doing things like therapy and a ton of self-care, y'all. Like, when I stress to you guys, self-care is very important, okay? It is very important. And over the course of these episodes, we're going to be getting into topics from my past pain, my past addiction. Yeah, I said that, past addiction, suicidal thoughts and attempts, my abandonment issues, and so much more, right? And I'm sharing these things with you guys in hopes that it can help you all start to take better care of yourselves, and just really start being able to have these tough conversations with yourself, with your partner, with your family, with your friends. You know what I mean? Because it's so much stigmatism or stigmas that people feel that once something happens, you just let it go and just either you move on from it. And that's what I used to do. I used to just let things go and just earn for any type of attention, to even if it was bad attention, I would just like crave it and just want it, just because I didn't feel like I ever got the proper love, I guess, from friends, from family, or whatever the case may be, you know. And so I'm sharing these things in hopes it helps, you know, start these conversations with your family. But I want to express, while I am doing this podcast, I will not be saying names unless the person is sitting on this couch. I will not be bashing anyone. I do not want anyone to feel like I'm bashing them. I've already have like all of my episodes, you know, pre-written, not pre-written, but like things that I want to talk about, right? And we'll get into how all that happened. But I have like reached out to, you know, friends and family, and like, hey, I'm starting this podcast. These are the things I'm going to be talking about, and would you like to be a part of this conversation? Or, hey, can we have a conversation? So then if my view was misconstrued or any way, we have already had the conversation, you know what I mean? And if you feel comfortable, come on the podcast. And if you don't, I totally understand, right? And so some of you guys know me personally. Some of you guys just stumbled across this video. And I want to make it clear that this is not a bashing podcast. We're not going to be bashing anybody. But we are going to be talking about the good, bad, and the ugly of the things that happened to me and the things I'm doing to move forward, right? So with that being said, sit back, relax, and let's get into the coffee. Okay? Well, not coffee because I don't like coffee. So let's just get into this segment, y'all. So how Taking My Power Back podcast was born. I want to say I have always known I wanted to do a type of like sit down sessions or something with my YouTube channel. And then I was just like, well, I already kind of do that, Sharvon. You kind of, you know, you do that with when you were vlogging. You're by yourself. You're talking. You're sharing your experiences. But God put it on my heart to really change the way that I do things, right? And so I figured this podcast is not only going to help me, but it's going to help others, right? And it came about I want to say last year, okay? Last year was a really, really, really dark place for me. And it was so many moving pieces that was happening in my life. 2016, my mom had died. Then fast forward to 2020, I had my first miscarriage. Then fast forward to 2021, I had my sister had passed, and while she passed, a few days later, I found out I was pregnant. Then a few days after that, I found out I was having a miscarriage, or I was having a miscarriage. All the while still trying to hold everything together for my family, because now I can't think about what's going on in my personal life, because my nephews have just experienced something so traumatizing. You know, I know how they feel, but it kind of sucks because it's like, we knew my mom was sick, right? But for my sister to just die unexpectedly, and then we had to figure out like how we're gonna do with the kids, you know. And I'm not gonna touch too far bases on those subjects, because I have separate episodes that I'm gonna dive deep into certain topics. But like last year was really, really, really dark for me, and I think it was the darkest I've ever been. I have been struggling with depression and anxiety since I was 12. And back then, you know, I didn't really have the support from my mom with going like to therapy and stuff. Like in middle school, when I first started to have this anxiety and things like that, I was turning white. So of course, some people think this is a birthmark. I have vitiligo, and so that is where some of my issues had stemmed from, was vitiligo. And then of course just the whole family dynamic that was happening around me. But I guess because everyone always sees me in this great light that they put on me, you know, and just tell me like, oh, you're so happy, you're always so this, you're always so helpful, you just do whatever you can for everybody else. And that's true, you know, like I thrive off of doing things for people. And it's just like, it just makes me feel so good that when I'm down at my lowest, I'm like, it's okay, because I have to go do this for this person, or I have to go do this for that person, and I'm gonna feel so much better when I'm done, right? And in those moments, yes, I feel amazing. But then when I come home and I go to bed, I'm in my head having all these thoughts of suicide and not wanting to be here, and feeling like I don't matter, and I only matter because people only love me or want to be around me because I can do things for them, right? And then I was holding on to guilt from my mom dying, and not having the really big conversations that I wanted to have with her, because here she is sick, and she's fighting for her life, and I can't tell her. I can tell her how I'm feeling and how I feel that she wasn't there for me, or I can be there for her because I can see that she's in pain, and don't give her more things on her plate, because my feelings of what I have towards her doesn't matter, because she's fighting for her life, right? And it's just like how much, for me putting all of that pain down and just burying it, or at least thought I was burying it, everything exploded last year. To the point where my grandmother, who was not even ready to come back to my house, like she's come to my house like here and there to just come, you know, when she visits, but she'll like go to my sister's house or get a hotel because she wasn't ready. After my mom died, she wasn't ready to come back and be in this environment of where my mom took her last breath, right? And I understood that, you know, but I had talked to my grandma, and me and my grandma, we talk almost every day, if not 4 and 5 times a day. Like, that's my ace. And what's so funny about that is me and my grandma, we didn't have a good relationship when I was in my early 20s or whatever. I feel like in my early 20s, I didn't have a great relationship with anybody. And I was just in my own thing, trying to like go away, right? I was even like ready to pack up and move to Texas. You know, I was getting ready for the big move. I found a job, I found everything, right? But last year my grandma called me, and I was in a very dark place to where I felt I was hiding it from everybody. But my grandma seen it, my husband seen it. Just recently, my nephew told me he seen it, and I thought, I'm smiling, right? But my grandma, she just heard it in my voice. And that week, my grandma, the week that I talked to my grandma, and I was just, you know, doing my little jokey selves or whatever. And you know what? Some people from social media seen it, and I'm gonna tell you that in a minute. So I was, my grandma called me, and she was like, "Hey, you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay, you know." And she's like, "Why are you lying to me?" And I'm like, "I'm not lying to you, Grandma." She was like, "When we got off the phone earlier, God put it in my spirit for me to call you back, and we had just got off the phone for like 2 hours. Like, we're always on the phone like that long, right?" And she goes, "God told me to call you back." And I'm like, "Grandma, I'm fine. Like, I'm fine." And she's like, "You're not fine. And it's something that I can feel, that I know you're not fine, and I'm coming." I said, "What do you mean you're coming, Grandma? Like, what do you mean?" She said, "Over these last few days, I can feel that something was wrong with you, and I'm coming. I'm going to be there in the morning." And I'm like, "Girl, what are you talking about?" She was like, "Are you ready to just be honest with me and tell me that you're not okay?" And I wasn't okay. But I didn't, again, I know my grandma has gone, like, grandma just had surgery a few months ago on her knees. Like, I don't want her to come. Like, and I'm like asking her questions like, "Well, how are you going to get here?" She's like, "Don't worry about how I'm getting there. You just know that I'm coming, because I know you need me right now. You're always there for me. You come, you drop anything and everything when you know I need. When you drop everything when you know I need you. And right now I can feel it over the phone and in our conversation that you need me." And true enough, guys, I needed my grandma. I needed my grandma so bad that day. And just that week when she came, I just felt like I didn't have suicidal thoughts from like years, right? Well, not even years, like years. Like maybe 2 years prior, I never had any more suicidal thoughts. I got depressed, but I never got to the point where I'm like, I don't want to be here no more, right? And the fact that my grandma knew that I needed her, and the fact that she drove 12 hours when she's supposed to fly because her legs swell up, you know what I mean? But she risked her life to come. And I never had nobody, like, do that for me. Like, actually just stop and just actually just tell me, like, I'm not okay. Like, I've had, like, I got my husband and we have, he sees things and things like that. But it was just so many moving pieces at this time last year that was happening, that I was going through, and it was just, I was at my wit's end. And the day my grandma got here and she came, I immediately got her upstairs. We put her in Aiden's room. Aiden slept in the other room on the air mattress. And I just like lay next to my grandma and I just started crying, because when you push so much pain down, right? Eventually, you guys, it's gonna boil. And if you don't have someone to see, sorry, if you don't have someone that sees it, and I feel like this is the feeling that I had, it's like the feeling that people have when they like commit suicide. Like, I really honestly think, like, if my grandma didn't come that day or just called me, I don't think I would have made it to the end of that week, right? And I know that's very selfish, but God sent her, and I didn't have a plan or nothing like that, right? But it just felt like I just felt different, like, and I've tried many of times in high school and middle school to commit suicide, right? But it felt like, I don't know, it was something different. And like this time, like, I didn't even try, you know what I mean? I didn't try, right? But it just felt different. And when my grandma came, the whole week she stayed here, we didn't leave the house. We prayed. We read scriptures. And one of my friends off of Facebook, I met her off of, she lives in the Netherlands. Oh, I'm not saying names. One of my friends from Facebook who lives in the Netherlands FaceTimed me, and our time is different, right? And I don't know what I posted. It wasn't like, it was just like, like one of those things that you see, like those little quotes or whatever. And she read the quote and she called me. Excuse me. She read the quote and she FaceTimed me, and she was like, "Hey, how are you?" And I'm like, "I'm okay." And she was like, "No, you're not." She was like, "I don't know what it is, but something told me." She's like, "We always write each other, but something told me to FaceTime you so I can see your face." And she can, like, at that time when she called me, it had to be like a day and a half that my grandma was already here. So I had already been crying. I mean, my grandma has been like talking and going through things or whatever. And she, just, was talking to me, and I was letting her know, well, I'm not okay. I'm going to be okay though. My grandma just got here. I'm going to take it one day at a time. And I just told her, I was like, I appreciate you for, seeing it, She was like, yeah, you haven't been posting on social media. And she's like, usually, that's bad, right? She was like, usually when you post on social media, then a few days, and it'll be a few days, and then you'll check in and just say like, hey, I'm doing this or doing that, or you say something to make sure that we're okay. But something just told me that you weren't okay, right? And so I just love her and I appreciate her. You know who you are, girl. You know who you are. But the whole time my grandma was here, we just talked and we prayed and we went over scriptures, and she just let me, lay with her and just soak up all of the love that she had to offer to me, right? And so that very last day she was here, she called me into my office. She was in my office and she was using my QB, right? And she was like, oh, I like this QB. This thing is going on cycle. I said, yeah, I love it. You know, a QB is like an under the table elliptical. And so, anyways, so she's on the QB. And then she just stops and looked at me. She was like, you know, I have to go home, right? And I said, yeah, I know you have to go home. I feel a lot more better that you came, and I'm ready to change, right? I'm ready to do the things that I need to do because I am exhausted and I'm tired of feeling like this. I feel recharged. I'm ready to take on the world, right? And she's like, no. That's what's wrong with you. That's part of the reasons what's wrong with you. Is number one, you're ready to take on the world. You've been doing that your whole life. It's time for you to stop, right? It's time for you, and she said, it's time for you to recharge. It's time for you to take care of you and let go of the things that you are holding on to, right? It's time for you to stop. Yes, you have issues with your mom. She's gone. You can't fix those things, but you need to find a way that you can figure out the things. Yes, you have issues with your sisters, and you need to figure it out if you're going to work it out with them or you're going to go about your day and still love them from afar. Yes, you have issues with your dad, and there's nothing that you can change. I know you want a relationship with him, but you just have to take it for what it is and take it for who you have in your life that's gonna make you happy. You have your family here that you're building. Now you not only do you have a family that you're building, but now you have a responsibility for your nephews that you are taking care of. Now you really have to stop worrying about everybody else and worry about you and the family that you're building, and you need to breathe. So then she's like, give me a pen. So I give her a pen, and she starts writing down. She starts writing down all these numbers and adding numbers here and adding numbers there. My grandma is really good with math, y'all. And she's just adding numbers here and adding numbers there, right? And I was trying to look for this paper, but I cannot find the paper. I must have threw it away when I was cleaning up. But she got into this, she started writing down these numbers, and the numbers that she was writing down was how many minutes it was in, how many minutes are in a year. Then she times that how many minutes in a year by my age. And then she added it up, and it was like a quadrillion freaking numbers, okay? And she's like, this is how much time, this is how many minutes that you are wasting away. And you're only 31. Are you going to continue to waste the minutes that you have left because you don't know how many minutes you have left? Are you going to continue to harbor on the things that were not in your control that you now have in control? Are you ready to take your power back? And when she said that, and I looked at the number, and I just sat there for a minute and just was this, it was just something about just seeing that number of how much time I wasted my life, right? And don't get me wrong, I've done a lot of great things with my life, right? But behind closed doors, I've spent a lot of time in my bed. I've spent a lot of time drinking. Like, people don't even know I was an alcoholic. My husband didn't even know I was an alcoholic. I am now a year and almost 7 months, or no, a year and almost 6 months sober. No. The last drink I had, yes, almost a year and 6 months sober. And it was to the point where I was swapping out bottles in the refrigerator to make it seem like it was that same bottle in the refrigerator. It was pretty dark, y'all. I ain't gonna even lie, you know. And I say that to say, take your power back. You know, I know that you guys are hurting. I know that you feel that you cannot see the light, right? But start making the changes and doing what you had to do, right? And so when I started this podcast, or when I had the idea of the name, I woke up out of my sleep, and that when my grandma said, take my power back, take my power back, take my power back, popped in my head, right? And I was sleeping, and this was a few months ago, right? And I was sleeping and I was dreaming, and I was dreaming of me being on a podcast and me having different conversations, and it was like everything was fast forwarding, right? But it was like I was seeing my life as I was sleeping, of all these conversations I wanted to have or haven't had, and wanted to talk and wanted to get the answers. And truth be told, I know some of the things that I want the answers to, I'm never gonna get. Like some of the things with my mom, we had a conversation before she died, and I was content with the conversation because she was sick, and I didn't want to put more on her, right? But I have another episode that we're going to just talk about the things, you know, that I wish we could have, you know, cleared or whatever. And so, yeah, and being in therapy is teaching me a lot about myself and a lot about others, and their habits and things like that. And so when I woke up a few months ago from this dream of me doing this podcast, I woke up and I had the name. And within 15 minutes after me waking up, I had 20 episodes written down in my notepad, right? So then I heard God tell me, this is what I'm telling you to do. This is going to help you. This is going to help others. You want to always help others? Here's a way you can help others without also killing yourself, right? And so it's like I'm his element of surprise, right? And I sit here and I listen every morning now. When I wake up, I am listening to a sermon. I open my YouTube video, I open up my YouTube app. Whatever sermon is there is what I click on. It's like opening the Bible and going to it, right? And this podcast, I am going to incorporate some clips of what I've heard that, you know, resonated with me. And I'm not trying to like throw the Bible in some people's face because I don't want to offend anybody. But this is the things that has helped me, right? And so every morning when I wake up, you guys, I say, I am grateful for all the joy, abundance, and love that finds me today. I am open, I receive, and I am ready, right? And so I am just ready to take this journey with you guys with this new podcast, and I hope that I can touch you and help you guys start your healing journeys. So yeah, so this is the podcast, guys. This is what we're doing. I have already, the funny thing is, right, I've recorded this first episode like 4 times, right? But on the next episode that's already been recorded, my grandmother came here for Thanksgiving and we shot an episode while she was here. So the next episode that you guys are going to be getting on Taking My Power Back podcast will be with my grandmother and my sister-in-law April, and we're going to be talking about generational trauma, honey. When I tell y'all we're going to be getting in the nitty-gritty, we are going to be getting in the nitty-gritty. So we're going to stop the podcast here, guys. And again, I thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys have any ideas or some things that you want to drop in the comments below, go ahead and drop some comments below. Tell me if you guys have any experience, if you feel comfortable. My comment section is going to be open. My inboxes are going to be open. If you want to talk or if you want to come on the podcast, I have a lot of great things coming. I did talk to a lot of my friends, a lot of my family members, and I have a lot of people that's eager to be on the podcast. I have my cousin coming, and we already have her podcast already. We're just waiting for her on the schedule to talk about her topic that she wants to talk about. So this podcast is not just for me, it's for everybody. So if you have something that you want to come on, you want to talk about, by all means, reach out to me. You guys can reach out to me at ShervonRenee@gmail.com, or you guys can inbox me on any one of my social medias, or again in the comment section below. So I thank you guys again for coming and being a part of this very first episode of Taking My Power Back podcast with Shervon Renee. I am Shervon Renee, and I'm going to end this like I end all my blogs. As always, love, peace, and hair grease. Thank y'all for watching this video. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell. And thank you for watching this video. Bye, guys.
Is that when you make room, like we did last week, when you make room like Sunday, like PT called us to on Sunday, it's not just so that you can live with this space, but God allows you to make room down on the inside of you so that he can give you strategy and creativity and wisdom for the territory assigned to your name. You want territory, but you haven't made room. I hear God saying that you're going to be bound everywhere until you decide to take territory and make room for God. If you're bound in one area, you're going to be bound in every area. I wish I could say that the way that I hear it in my mind. But it's not just one thing that's keeping you bound. That one thing keeps you completely bound. It's not just the relationship. God can't bring you into purpose until you're in the right relationship. God can't bring you into purpose until you have wholeness. It's not just the job. God can't bring you into the awareness of who he has called you to be until you step into the position you know you're supposed to be in. You think that you're just bound in one area, and I hear God saying that one area is dictating every area. And why is that important? Because you are an element of surprise. And the element of surprise is not just called to be a surprise. He's called to take territory. You were called to take territory. And God says, I need you to clear out the space that's in you so that you can take territory. Somebody has been called to take territory in this season. I hear God saying that you're taking territory in the entertainment industry. You're going to take territory for your family. That wholeness is going to be in your family. That breakthrough is going to be a part of your family. How is it going to happen? It's going to happen because one day I woke up and I realized that if I didn't clean out the junk that was in me, then I couldn't lay hold of the blessings that were for me. And I don't know about you, but I wake up every morning trying to take territory. There's an old song they used to sing when I was in church, and they say, I'm going into the enemy's camp and I'm going to take back what he stole from me. You know what he's taking back? He's taking back the territory that God had originally assigned to them. The enemy has been taking territory in your life for too long. The enemy has been taking territory in your mind for too long. And I hear God saying that you have the power and ability to take that territory back. And it starts with a spiritual awakening. And so I want to prophesy over everyone watching this video right now that you would come into a place where you get bold and you get empowered and you start running into the enemy's camp and you start taking back what he stole from you. You thought you were going to take my heart. You thought you were going to take my mind. You thought you were going to take my talent. You thought you were going to take my child. Well, surprise, devil, you got another thing coming. I am a strategy in God's arsenal, and you can't take anything from me that God won't give me the power to take back. I want to say that again. The enemy cannot take anything from you that God will not give you the power to take back. Your innocence can be taken back. Your power can can be taken back. I want you to make a list of everything the enemy ever took from you. And I want you to know that it is not gone forever. It's just waiting for you to recognize that he gave you power, that he gave you authority so that you can take it back. Take it back, take it back, take it back, take it back. I'm taking back my mind. I'm taking back my joy. I'm taking back my gift. I'm taking back my talent. I'm taking it back, I'm taking it back, I'm taking it.
They tell me that I'm never gonna make it. They want me to do something that could make sense. They hate when I keep dreaming I'll be famous, but I don't give a fuck, I'ma keep chasing. I got all this potential that's deep inside of me,